The Gaza Declaration marks a tentative end to one of the bloodiest chapters in West Asia's recent history. But, as history has so often shown, ceasefires may halt the fighting. Building peace is always the longer battle. Well, for more on this, we have with us Helit Barel, former director of the Israeli National Security Council, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Let's start by looking at where this declaration leaves us with a potential two-state solution that has been backed by so many world leaders.
Correct, and I think the key there is the potential, because what we're talking about at the moment is quite a general declaration, quite a general and unspecified 20-point plan, which is a bit unclear on the implementation. I think President Trump's vision goes a little bit farther ahead than where the leaderships of the Israeli government is, and as well as the Palestinian Authority. So how we bridge the gap between this intended path towards a Palestinian state and what the situation is on the ground remains to be seen, and it will be up to President Trump to force it to move along and to come up with the path to implementation.
Yes, and let's build on those next phases. What do you think the next phases will look like, given that Hamas has not given intent currently to disarm itself, and there's also no clarity on how the IDF's full withdrawal from the Gaza Strip will happen and a timeline?
Right. Well, this is exactly the lack of specification that I mentioned before. So the mechanism that is supposed to be involved in this is called ISF, International Stabilization Force, and it's supposed to be composed of various Arab states such as Turkey and Egypt. But that mechanism is not in place, and as you might understand, it doesn't take a week to put in place. It takes a little bit longer. In the same way, the civilian control of the Gaza Strip is supposed to be managed by a board of peace, again, a multinational body that is not in existence, needs to be in existence and working. In the meantime, Hamas has made several declarations about refusing to disarm, and in the 20-point agreement, the Israeli withdrawal is conditioned on the disarmament of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So currently it's really not clear where things are, and I'll point out that we've already reached our first crisis today, as Hamas has not completed its obligations according to phase one of this plan, which is to return not only the 20 live hostages, which thankfully happened yesterday, but also the remaining 28 bodies of the hostages that they murdered. And currently only 4 of those have been returned, and we haven't heard of any intention to continue returning those bodies today. So currently it's a very sticky situation where Hamas is already in the violation of phase one, and the question of how Israel responds is a very important one.
Yes, Helit, let's build on that once again. You alluded to the fact that all living hostages have now been returned. Of course, some sticking points over the remains and the bodies of deceased hostages. What do you think is stopping the IDF from going back into Gaza to, as Benjamin Netanyahu has said multiple times, finish the job?
Well, I think what's stopping the government of Israel is the fact that they have signed an agreement and they took on commitments, and their commitments are not only to the parties generally that negotiated, but to the United States of America and to President Donald Trump, whose vision this is, and who has come to Israel and stood up for Israel in various ways. And I think going up against him will be the sticking point in this. The question is where really is Donald Trump on these issues? Because Donald Trump has also stated, if Hamas violates the agreement, absolutely I will let Israel go in and finish what they need to do. So really a lot of this lies in the hands of the United States, and it's thinking about how to implement this agreement. And we're facing it right now. I mean, with the current crisis around the return of the remains of the hostages, and a skirmish that was happened earlier this morning, where 5 Hamas terrorists approached the yellow line to which Israeli forces had withdrawn, which is against the agreement. They came armed, and they came into perimeters that they weren't supposed to come into, and they were shot. So we're already starting to experience how the vagueness of the agreement that probably is part of what made it possible is also creating a lot of difficulties. And it is now up to not only the leadership of the United States, but also Qatar and Turkey and Egypt, who are all basically supportive of this agreement and involved in its implementation, to keep their thumb on Hamas, to make sure that Hamas is implementing this agreement.
Yes, absolutely. Sticking points and uncertainty still there, but as I've alluded to in the past, still momentum moving forward. Helit Barel, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good day.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.